Hey, everybody. I'm so excited for my guest today, Paola Rosser. She is the CEO and founder of the Fearless Female Movement. She's driven by a mission to help women and with the fear posed by old ideologies and the subconscious mind. Paola employs a unique blend of coaching and subconscious healing that helps women overcome their past challenges and embrace their inner power. With emotions and body code as her compass, Paola leads women on a healing journey, enabling them to emerge as fearless architects of their destinies. And I'm so excited because I've actually done emotion code with her, and she is a wonderful, wonderful human being. So I'm so happy you're here today.
I'm so happy and blessed and honored to be here too. I'm excited. You've been a guest on my podcast, and I was telling her earlier before we logged on that her episode on my podcast, Journey of a Fearless Female, is still number one on Spotify. So I'm so excited to be able to be on your podcast.
Well, thank you. Yes, yes. And, we actually shared some stories about drinking and blacking out and just kind of our
Hmm.
experiences. So, I think one of the reasons I think we have podcasts is because sharing stories is so transformational and just really helps people connect with people. And I really feel like stories matter.
Yes, absolutely. And you remember that you are not suffering alone and that you're not unique to your own like pain. And I think that because I'm an 80s baby, we didn't have social media. We didn't have podcasts. We didn't have,
Mhm.
TikTok or anything where you can share what was really going on. So a lot of it was behind closed doors. And so we used really bad coping mechanisms like alcohol, like drugs, like men, like overeating, or overspending. We use all the wrong coping mechanisms growing up. And I was one of those.
Same girl, same.
So do you want
uh,
me to just go into my journey?
yeah, I would love to, let the listeners know um, how you got here in your healing journey, because I think that's just so important. And something I see too a lot when people stop drinking, and not necessarily they have to stop drinking for this to be the case, but oftentimes there's some level of healing that has to happen when we want to move to the next level and the next level and the next level. But if we don't have that awareness, we sometimes can be in trauma cycles, even I don't like the word sabotage, but sometimes sabotage ourselves. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to hear more about it.
Okay, so I grew up, I'm number 7 in my family. So I grew up in a big Mexican family. I was born here in America. Me and my sister Lilia were the anchor babies, the babies that were meant to give my parents, citizenship back when Reagan was president. And because I was the 7th child, my mom was kind of done having kids. And so she would tell me to my face, I never really wanted you.
Mm.
And that does something to a child's psyche. Not only did she say that, but I was ridiculed by all my family members, made fun of. I have a weird and unique name. My brother used to tease me with that name. And, I grew up pretty much feeling like there was something inherently wrong with me. So when kids grow up in an environment where the caregivers, whether it's your parents, your step parents, even people at church or teachers or bullies in school, if someone is making fun of you, the child or abusing you emotionally, physically, sexually, the child doesn't look at their abuser as like, oh my God, you're a horrible person. No, the child looks at themselves like there's something wrong with me. Why is this happening to me? And that's what happened to me growing up. I always was looking inward and trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I had a lot of negative self talk. I used to tell myself that I wasn't good enough, that I was stupid, that I was ugly, that I was this, I was that. I just constantly put myself down. And because I grew up in an abusive home and my mom was constantly telling me I wasn't wanted, she was also physically abusive. I tried my hardest to make her love me. And how I made her love me, or I thought how I was gonna make her love me, was I was gonna be really good. I was gonna be a really good student, and I was going to get straight A's, and I was going to do everything to make her proud of me. But in reality, there was nothing I could do to make her love me in the way that I wanted her to love me. So I spinned my wheels for years, and then I thought to myself, "Okay, well, I'm gonna get to college, I'm gonna get a degree," and I left my family home thinking that the abuse was gonna stop, and that I was no longer gonna be in that toxic environment. But unfortunately, I had already been programmed to believe that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't worthy, I wasn't, enough. And so I took that program with me to college. And so what did I do? I repeated the patterns of being in an abusive relationship, of negative self-talk, and I used bad coping mechanisms like alcohol and drinking until you blacked out and doing drugs and, being with all the wrong characters. And I couldn't figure out why I was like not happy. I should be happy, right? I'm going to San Diego State University. I have a full scholarship ride. Like, I should be happy, but why am I not happy? Why am I in this constant cycle of like self-abusing myself with drugs and alcohol and all the wrong toxic relationships? And so it took me a while to figure it out because not only was I in the wrong relationships with men, but I was also in the wrong relationships with women, like female friendships. Somehow I always seemed to attract narcissistic women who would treat me like I was nothing and betray me and sleep with my boyfriends and backstab me and talk shit behind my back. And I'm like, I would always be in these dark nights of the soul where I would be bawling my eyes out, asking God, why does this keep happening to me? And I would go back to the same thought process of there must be something inherently wrong with me because I've been told that my whole life. Not only did I've been, but I'm believing it. So it wasn't until 2006 when my father passed away unexpectedly, and I remember just, like, watching him be there and then not be there anymore, and I went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out where my dad went because growing up as a Catholic, I was taught that if you're a sinner, you're going straight to hell, and as much as my dad was an alcoholic and he died of liver failure, I couldn't see my dad being tortured for the rest of his life or the rest of eternity in hell. And so I just couldn't grasp or put my mind around that idea. So I started to Google, where do people go when they die? And all these near death experiences started to come up, books started to come up. And I tell people when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So whether it is a human being or a book or a podcast or a YouTube video, everything is not coincident. I mean, yeah, it's not coincidental. It is meant for you to grow and evolve. And I believe in spirit guides, your ancestors, your angels. They're always guiding you. Whether or not you want to see them as signs or you just think, oh, that's just a coincidence. Either way, you're always being guided. And so for me, I really felt like I was being guided. And I've watched thousands and thousands of near death experiences and learned that there is no hell. The only hell that there is a hell that we create, and that everyone is loved unconditionally. And there's nothing you need to do to earn that love, which a lot of people who are in religious practices don't believe that. They believe that they have to say a certain prayer, or belong to a certain church, and give your 10%. And it took me a long time to really deconstruct that ideology that religion was placed on me. So once I started to ask the questions out loud, because after my dad passed away, I mean, the pain was so horrendous. Like, who's ever lost a family member, a friend, a loved one, grief is the ultimate darkest pain and it drives people to drink and do drugs and do really bad things to
Mhm.
themselves because the pain is so hard. And here's the thing, as a human being, we never got taught how to regulate our nervous system. Animals, when something happens to them and they get hurt, they get bitten by another animal, or they something causes them to have fear, in that moment, they're like, "Grr," right, and then the fear passes or the attack passes or they're no longer in danger, and then they shake it off, and then they're back to themselves. If you watch your dog, if you have a dog, watch the dog be in attack with another dog or whatever, or fear, maybe somebody comes to your front door and they're "Grr." As soon as the noise is gone, as soon as the other dog is gone, they shake it off and then they're back to normal. Humans are not like that. When we experience fear, trauma, pain, suffering, it is within us. We hold onto that pain and then we literally marinate in it forever. Sometimes if we don't learn how to self-regulate our emotions, our parasympathetic nervous system. Like, if we don't learn these things when we're young, then we use really bad coping mechanisms. And I come from a Mexican family, and my dad was an alcoholic. And so when I watched my dad, even though my dad didn't teach me, when you are in a pissed off mood, Paola, pick up a beer, he didn't teach me that. But I talk about with my clients that from 0 to 7, you are being programmed. You are learning how to be and move through the world. And this is something that you can read through Bruce Lipton books or Dr. Joe Dispenza. Um, but basically, between 0 to 7, your brain is in the theta brain waves, which means you are just easily downloading whatever it is. That's why they say kids are like sponges, right? When you have a kid and all of a sudden your kid says the F word, you're like, where did you hear that? I didn't teach you that. He's watching, he's learning, they're observing. So, however you are as a parent, whether you react in a negative way because the waiter brought you the wrong ketchup, they think, oh, that's how we react. Oh, when you're in a pissed off mood and you've had a bad day and you come home and you pour a glass of wine, your daughter's like, oh, that's what we do when we're in a pissed off mood in a pissed off way. So we're learning by observation. We're learning by really just watching how our parents coped with their negative emotions, with
Mhm.
their negative environment. And so for me, I watched my dad drink a lot of beer. So I learned that if I'm in a bad mood or not having a good day, have an alcoholic beverage. And so that was my number one coping mechanism. Drugs was just like here and there. But my number one coping mechanism was I'm going to drink until the problem no longer exists. And that just was the beginning of the first layer of many, many bad decisions. And as you know, afterwards, yeah, the pain subsided for 1 or 2 hours, 3 hours max. But the next day, it was like a ton of bricks. Like there I am. The problem wasn't solved. The pain just was amplified. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And so I really contemplated unaliving myself because I couldn't handle the pain. I couldn't handle the grief. And not only when my father passed away 3 months later, or no, actually, my ex boyfriend and I broke up, who was a physically abusive boyfriend. We broke up in January. So I was already dealing with the grief of having to be broken up with. But 3 months later, my father passed away unexpectedly from liver failure. So 2006 was the worst year of my life. And I had the darkest nights of the soul where I truly contemplated unaliving myself because the pain was too much to bear. And there wasn't enough alcohol or drugs to take the pain away. And I remember one night I was seriously like, I was just so emotionally, spiritually, financially, because I had lost my job and I was unemployed, exhausted. And I was just like, I remember sitting in my small studio apartment and I was bawling my eyes out and telling God, I can't do this anymore. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know how to do this. Everybody else, to me, I felt like when I looked at people, even when I would go to Starbucks, I would look at people and be like, she has it figured out and I can't figure it out. And I constantly compared myself to my sisters. Why do they have it figured out? They're married and they have kids. Why can't I figure it out? What is wrong with me? My mom is probably right. There is something wrong with me. And that night, I took NyQuil a lot to sleep the day away the next day because I just didn't want to exist. I wasn't trying to take a lethal dose to take my life, but I just did not want to wake up to deal with my problems. And that night, I remember just crying myself to sleep, and I kid you not, the front door opened to my small studio apartment, and a billowing, beautiful white light came in, and my dad, who had passed away years prior, walked in, completely perfect. And I remember jumping from my bed, and I, like, gasped for air, and I was like, "Papi, papi, I wanna go with you," in Spanish, "Quiero ir contigo." And he was like, "No es tu tiempo. It's not your time." And I'm like, "But I can't do it. I don't wanna do this. I can't be here anymore. Take me with you." And he was like, "It's gonna get better." And I woke up with, like, trying to catch my breath, because it and even to this day, like, I question whether it was a dream, I question whether it was real. I've talked to many shamans and spirit guides, and they all tell me,
Mhm.
it's real. People come and visit you from the other side all the time,
Yep.
especially dreams." And after that dream, my whole entire life flipped upside down. I met my husband. I really started going down deep into the self-help world, and I had already practiced, manifesting, because my dad passed away in 2006. In 2008, my friend had handed me the book, The Secret, and, I read it, and the first time I read it, I was like, "Well, this ain't gonna work for me. I'm Mexican." Because again, going back to the old programming, when I was growing up, my parents were from Mexico. I'm first generation American. My brother always used to say, the white man's up here, the Mexican people are down here. Um, I just always had this ideology that Mexicans were poor and Mexicans were this, and white people were up here. And so when I read the book, The Secret, I'm like, well, yeah, that shit works for white people, but that's not going to work for me. I'm Mexican. But either way, even though I had that negative thought and that limiting belief, I still put it to the test, because I am kind of like a researcher at heart. I love to, like, test things out and see if it's really gonna work. And so, whatever the book told me to do, I did. I, did a vision board, and I manifested all these things. I did manifest a boyfriend and a job and new friends and a new apartment, but they were all still toxic. And I didn't understand why the boyfriend cheated on me, why, my boss was a jerk, why my friends were toxic and mean. It was because I was still, even though I was manifesting, in the back of my mind, my subconscious program was, you're not good enough. You're not worthy. Nobody loves you. There's something inherently wrong with you. So no matter what I was doing consciously, subconsciously, that program was still running. And so it wasn't until, like, I met my husband, and he allowed me the space to heal, which was great because I got to go to therapy once a week for a year. I It was a lot of healing, because, like you said earlier in the podcast, you can't do anything unless you do the healing first.
Mhm.
Because, I know you don't like the word sabotage, but we do self-sabotage. Why? Because whatever negative program is running in your subconscious mind, you don't believe you're good enough, worthy, or deserving of having whatever is presented to you, which is the reason why a lot of lotto winners lose their money, because they don't believe that they're worthy of that windfall. And so I am newly engaged to this wonderful man, and I think I threw the ring at him at least 50 times, because I couldn't understand why somebody loved me. What do you mean you love me unconditionally? What do you mean you're going to be with me for the rest of my life? Like, this is weird. This is not. Look at me. Like, there's something wrong with me. You take your ring back. And he would be like, "What are you talking about? I love you." And I love that he allowed me the space to be all different versions of me, all the unhealed parts of me, and still gave me the space to still love me no matter what. And during that time, I was also deep into reading more self-help books. And I started going to, like, I went to go see Jack Canfield live. I've seen Gabrielle Bernstein live. I've seen Oprah live. I did all of Tony Robbins' events, Date with Destiny. Um, what is that? Unleash the Power Within. Life and Wealth Mastery, his Business Mastery, his Leadership Academy. But before I got deep, deep into it, like the very first thing that I was reading, it was Jack Canfield's 21 Success Principles. And I remember thinking, I was at the dentist and I was like, everybody needs to know this stuff. Why didn't they teach this to me in high school? Why didn't they tell me that thoughts become things, that where you focus your energy, that's what things, it's going to become your reality. And I'm like, everybody needs to know this stuff. This should have been taught in schools. And I remember being in the dentist chair and I was like, I'm going to start an accountability group because I didn't know what coaching was back then. And so I started an accountability group on Facebook. I invited 10 of my closest friends. I did it for free. And by the time like we did 21 days of the 21 success principles. By the time the 21 days were over, I only had 3 people in the group. But either way, like I felt so alive trying to tell people like we've got it all wrong. Everything that we've been taught to believe since we were little is all the wrong ideologies, the wrong I was like, it's like you're deconstructing who they told you to be and reconstructing who you really are. And
Mm,
that's been my journey for the last like 5 years is I had to teach other women that what they've been telling you is all lies. All and I know that I have a whole new relationship with my mom, and it took me a lot of healing to forgive her. And I know that the reason why she poured that sadness, that hate, that anger, that because she had her own trauma, unhealed trauma. It is true, hurt people hurt others. And back then, I was born in 1980, the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they didn't teach mental health. They
mm-mm,
didn't talk about therapy, especially if you're from a different culture. Like, you don't go and like, even now, my family members, I'm writing a book, and my family members are all like, oh, what are you going to spill the secrets with the family? And it's like, who cares? Like, for me, it's like, if you if you don't want me to talk about the stuff that happened in the family, then those things should have never happened. But, I am not going to mute myself or lower my flame or like dim my light to make you feel comfortable. And that's the thing, we're so busy protecting our abusers and protecting the people that hurt us. Where were they when we needed protection? Where were they when we needed them to be who they were supposed to be? Our mother, our father, our stepmother, our stepfather, our caretaker, our priest, our teacher. All these people, they were just as hurt and didn't
mm,
know how to provide a safe and loving environment. They didn't understand that the things that they were saying and the things that they were doing were going to have lasting ripple effects. They didn't know. They didn't have a clue because, again, this was not taught in school that our words have power, that our thoughts are powerful, and that they create our reality. I just watched this documentary. I forgot what it's called. I did a TikTok video about it, but it was about these children that were buried in a bus. They were kidnapped. It was the 70s. They were kidnapped by these two guys, and they buried them in a bus. And they got rescued, but they were in that bus buried underground for about 48 hours. They weren't physically abused. They weren't sexually abused, but the emotional abuse of being in this dark bus underneath, like basically buried alive and feeling like no one was going to come to rescue you, had a lasting effect for the rest of their lives. Now, back in the 70s, like I said, they didn't talk about, therapy and mindset and all that stuff. They didn't talk about negative trapped emotions in the body. They didn't talk about any of this stuff, right? So they just believed that if you ignored it, it would go away. So these children who went through a very traumatic event in their life, even though they were young, they thought, well, they're young, they're just going to forget about it. They won't even remember. Well, a lot of them became alcoholics. A lot of them became druggies. A lot of them were in toxic relationships, and you watch this documentary and it just makes you it makes you sad that, they were even used as a case study for future therapists because therapy started to come in the 70s and 80s, and they started to realize that, trauma does have a lasting effect and that healing is detrimental. And these children were, I mean, they were, the advice that the doctors were giving the parents were, "Oh, she's screaming from night terrors, just leave her in her room. Just leave her in her room. Don't acknowledge them, don't validate them, don't go in there. She'll scream it out. It'll be over and soon."
Oh my goodness.
You know, you watch these documentaries and you're like, "That's so sad." That's the reason why we are the way we are, because no one stopped to say, "This is not right." You know, everybody believed that childhood abuse would be erased. And when you're an adult, they're no longer going to remember that. They're not going to remember the sexual abuse, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse. They're just going to be, they're going to forget it. But unfortunately, the body keeps score. And whether or not you remember exactly what happened to you, because I don't remember my mom's physical abuse, I don't remember half the stuff that she did to me because I've blocked a lot of those memories out,
Yeah.
but my body still remembers. My body still remembers. Like, I went to the dentist 2 months ago, and the dentist said that I am crushing my own teeth because I hold a lot of my tension in my jaw. I sometimes catch my shoulders, like, super
Yeah.
high because I'm, like, so busy holding my tension and my anxiety, and then I have to let go because I have to realize that I'm safe, I'm protected, I'm not in that environment anymore. But even though I consciously know that I'm safe and I'm no longer that child and I'm not in that environment, my subconscious is still running that program. And my subconscious is still like, no, we have to protect ourselves. Remember what happened? Remember what happened? Oh my God, we have to protect myself. So that's where emotion and body code comes in with my practice, is that I've been coaching for the last 5 years. So for the first 3 years, I was wondering why my clients would go back to their comfort zone, even though they did the 90-day program and they had a lot of success with my coaching practices, and they started to manifest things, new jobs, lost weight, they got out of toxic relationships, they manifested their brand new Range Rover, like all these amazing results, right? But then, like, within 6 months to a year, some of them were going back to their comfort zone. And so, you know, like I said earlier, I'm a researcher. I love to figure things out. And so when I was ready, the right information came to me. And I was on an airplane ride to Nashville, and my husband was like, "I'm reading this book. You need to read it. It's the emotion code." And so I'm like, I'm in the middle of like this podcast. Like, and he's like, "No, no, you have to stop listening to this podcast and you have to read this book." And I'm like, "Fine," because we both share the same Audible. And so we have all these books in our Audible. And the very first part, the foreword of the book, was written by Tony Robbins. And I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan. I got my certification through his program. So I'm like, whatever Tony Robbins is gonna spill, I'm gonna read it, you know? So I read the book, and it talks a lot about how everything is in the subconscious mind, and that if you can easily reprogram the subconscious mind, but you first have to locate where these negative trapped emotions are in your body. It also talks about like misalignments in your body and all these things, and how you could remove these negative trapped emotions just by simply using what is it called? Muscle testing and magnets. And so, of course, my first thought is like, this is woo woo. There's no way this is going to work. How is this so possible? Right. And so, again, I love to test things out. And in my healing journey, I have tried everything from tuning forks to psychedelics to freaking, what else have I done? Floating tanks. I have done all the things. Reiki. I have gone to shamans where they're just doing a whole bunch of stuff to me, and I'm because I've always been wanting to heal the mother wound
Yeah.
inside,
Yeah.
because it does affect you in all the types of relationships and stuff. And, you know, I don't think that anyone can do one thing and be fully healed. I think that you're always growing and evolving, and we're like onions. We have layers and layers and layers and layers of emotional trauma, suffering, abuse, all of that stuff. And even though we may not remember it, the body remembers it. And so we're constantly trying to heal those parts of ourselves. And so for me, I was trying all kinds of things. You know, after talk therapy, I did all the things to try to, like, you know, heal my inner child and heal the little girl inside of me that, you know, felt like there was something wrong with her. And so I was like, I'm going to give this a go. So I hired somebody. She offered her first session for free. And that very first session, She removed 15 negative trapped emotions from me. And I literally felt as if someone had taken a weight off of my chest, and I felt so light. And so I was like, "Travis, Travis," my husband, please, please, you've gotta try this." So he does it. He gets like 10 negative emotions removed from him, and for 2 months, we did not fight. Because we didn't have these negative emotions being triggered by, like, old stuff, and so we didn't fight, and so we're like, "Oh, could this possibly be real? Maybe it's just a one-time thing." No, we stayed with this practitioner for over 2 years, and the more that she did sessions with us, the better we became, like, as humans, like, and, together as a relationship, right? Like, we didn't fight as much, there wasn't that many negative triggers, and so then the practitioner was like, "Paola, you should do this and add it to your coaching." And I was like, "You're right." So I went, I got my certificate for emotion code and body code, and now I include it with my coaching practices. But I also now, just recently in the last 6 months, have opened it up to other people because usually, my brand is Fearless Female. I only work with female clients. I had a couple of women who were like, "Can I send my husband to you?" And I'm like, "Sure, just bring them on in," so now I'm, like, accepting all kinds of people to do these emotion and body code sessions with me, and we go into your subconscious mind. I connect, just basically I ask permission, and then I do muscle testing until I'm connected. Everything is done virtually. You could do just a phone session where you just tell me, "These are the things I need to work on," and I need to know, like, when you're ready, because I always tell people it's like, I'm tapping into your subconscious mind, so you need to be aware that I'm doing it. You need to be sober, and that's another thing. It's like a lot of people, I tell them you have to drink a lot of water and you can't have alcohol for 48 hours before, I tap into your subconscious
That
mind
makes
because
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. They're clear.
yeah, so you're clear, I'm clear, and then I just ask your subconscious questions, yes or no, and your subconscious will always answer yes or no, left or right, it's just yes or no, is it on the right or is it on the left? And then I go through a chart, and then all the chart is basically because Dr. Bradley Nelson, who's the creator of Emotion and Body Code, has done this over and over, thousands of patients, so he knows kind of similar things that are gonna be trapped or similar emotions or similar things, and so it has become such an incredible healing modality for my clients. Like you talked earlier, you've done a session, and some people are like, "How do you know that about me?" I don't know that. I don't know that you trapped this negative emotion of humiliation. I don't know. I'm going by what your subconscious mind is telling me. So I could tell you a couple of, like, different, things that have happened. Do you mind?
No, and I also want to share the one thing that you told me that I was like, holy crap, that's so true. I experienced too when I did it.
Go ahead, tell them.
So, you know, what she talks about too is like that 0 to 7 is we get money mindset. Like there's just so much stuff that we hear our parents talk about. So my parents are very opposite. My dad was very much save, my mom was very much spend, and there was a lot of chaos with money in my household. And when you did it with me, and it made sense once you told me it, but I had the fear that if I get more money, I'm going to spend it all. And
Mm,
so what happens is that, okay, I'm doing coaching, I'm doing all these things. Well, I'm going to almost block myself from getting more money because I'm going to spend it. But if I don't know it, I'm going to keep going in this old program, like this old programming. And then you can see where I'm going with this. So like just having that awareness, like, okay, well, it's okay if I get more money. I'm not going to spend it. It's safe. And really, like
yeah,
you mentioned, the nervous system is really coming to the place where, okay, I'm okay. I can do this. Bad things aren't going to happen. Um,
yeah,
I'm not going to freak out because sometimes we do freak out and
yeah.
we kind of go to that fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
Mhm.
And then we don't do the things we want to do, right? Or maybe we don't try to get more coaching clients because we're terrified. And then it goes like
Yeah,
you said, I don't feel worthy of this. And so it's just it's so deep. And until we have that awareness, we can't really do a whole lot with it. So I like emotion code and I love coaching in general because it's to me, it's like the coolest thing when you help somebody realize, holy shit, like I had this aha moment, and then they can kind of move forward and keep growing, right? Because if we don't know where this sad, injured girl that has trauma. And again, you don't have to be physically abused to have trauma, right? Like what
Mm-mm.
you said, it was just that verbal abuse of hearing that over and over and over again. That became your reality. So then you brought that
Yeah.
forth to being an adult and attracting like low vibe energy of other people.
Yes.
Wondering why the hell is this happening? It's because, you're in this trauma cycle and you didn't know how to get out of it. So I think that's
Yeah.
such a cool story from a sad story, and I'm so sorry to hear about all the losses, but I always believe, and I don't know why people pass away. That's beyond my knowledge.
Mhm.
But I always think that sometimes the most beautiful thing is taking our pain and bringing it to something where we could teach people and kind of do what we're meant to do on this planet Earth. Some of
Oh,
us are
yeah.
meant to teach and share. And I think emotion code is cool because in addition to coaching, and you're making me want to do emotion code. I'm like, I should get certified.
Yeah. They actually just came out with another thing called belief code. So
Ooh.
it's like the triple threat. So now it's you could do emotion, body, and belief code. When belief code is like figuring out what is the belief system that's rooted deep in your subconscious mind. Like for example, your belief system around money, or your and that's the thing. It's like she said earlier, it doesn't have to be like you were sexually, physically, or emotionally abused. It could be something as small. Like for example, I had a client, she was in her 60s and I was doing an emotion code session with her, and we found that she trapped the negative emotion of humiliation at the age of 15. So when I tell people emotion code, your subconscious mind is like, if you remember going to the library and you had to find a book and you have to pull those little cabinets, and they had the little, what is it called? Those little cards where the book was and the number of the book.
Long time ago.
Right? So just imagine your subconscious mind is like a whole bunch of filing cabinets with a whole bunch of files, and each file is every experience, everything that you've ever like been a part of in your entire life. And every experience, every memory has an emotion attached to it. Now, for those of us who've grown up in a toxic environment like myself and grew up with abuse, a lot of my memories have negative emotions attached to it. So I'm pulling the filing cabinet, age 8 on December 2nd, 2000, whatever, I mean, 1988. I was, slapped by my mom. So I have that negative emotion attached to that memory. So everything that you've ever experienced in your life, your subconscious mind has recorded it. And so for this woman, she held the emotion of humiliation at the age of 15. So when we're doing the session, I will say, what is the first memory that comes to mind? So I always tell my clients when they're about to start their session is just picture the file being brought from the subconscious mind in the back of the mind to the front of the mind to your conscious mind. Now, some people, especially someone who's 60 years old, can't remember what happened at the age of 15. So she's like, "Oh, I don't remember." And then sometimes my body will, because I am attached to the subconscious mind, my body will feel things. And so the practitioner that taught me, she said, "Whatever comes up, whether you hear something, see something, feel something, because we're all intuitive beings, so clairvoyant, clairsentient, we're all of the clairs because we all have that power. We're just tapping into our own intuition. So in that moment, I had tingling sensations in my legs. And I said, "I don't know what this means, but my legs are tingling." And she goes, "Oh, now I remember." Because I said that, the memory sparked, right? It went from her unconscious mind to her conscious mind. And she said, "When I was 15 years old, I had really fat legs and I was part of the swim team. And every time I took off my towel, the other girls would make fun of me." And
Wow.
so that was the reason why she trapped the negative emotion of humiliation. Now, if she trapped that negative emotion of humiliation, her subconscious mind is holding on to that negative emotion so that she doesn't do anything to feel that humiliation ever again.
Yeah, it's protecting us. Yeah.
Yes, so what
Yeah.
do? You play small in areas of your life that you shouldn't be playing small in. Or maybe she never wore shorts ever again, or a skirt, or she always wore, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? We do things in patterns and habits based on the program
Yeah.
that is running us. And so I've had so many clients, like the one lady that sent her husband to me, he was grinding his teeth at night, and I did an emotion and body code session with him, and I found that he trapped a lot of negative emotions in his teeth, and that was the reason why he was grinding, and they were all having to do with, feeling like he couldn't talk, feeling resentment, feeling hurt, feeling pain. Turns out his dad committed suicide at the age of 21, and he was never allowed to speak about his dad's suicide. So that
Wow.
was the reason why
Okay.
he collected all these negative emotions in his teeth.
Yeah.
So at night, when your body's trying to process, so we also process a lot of our negative emotions and a lot of our unresolved trauma at night in our dreams, always. And so when he was dreaming, he was trying to process this negative like trauma that happened to him in his life, and he was doing it by grinding his teeth. Now I had another woman who was actually on my podcast Journey of a Fearless Female. She was molested by her uncle, and her uncle was like a cop, and he was a coach for soccer. And so all no matter who she tried to tell, these people were like, "How dare you speak of your uncle that way?" Blah 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 blah. How he's an outstanding man of the city, and so when we did emotion code sessions with her, she trapped a lot of negative emotions in her uterus. She had like over 20, from feeling rejection to trauma to panic, all these negative emotions. We released them that night. She had the most vivid dream where every single person, because she's in her 60s and she was molested when she was younger. So all the people, the adults have already passed on. All these people that denied her, the safe space to heal and told her to not talk about her uncle came to her in the dream. And she said that she's like, I remember in my dream, it was so vivid. I was sitting on a bench in a park, and all these people came and apologized to me for not believing me, for not letting me speak,
Wow.
and she said, "I woke up, Paola, in a cold sweat, but I have never felt so light in my life."
She got the release she needed.
She got the release that she needed, and, I mean, it's to me, when I first started doing this, even though I knew it worked on me, I still was a little bit hesitant because, again, it seems really woo-woo, like, here's my magnets, what are these magnets doing to release these negative emotions? Like, what are these magnets doing to change the misalignments in your body or different ailments? Like, how is this working? But I've done it multiple times. I've had so many clients, like, come back to me and say, "I feel lighter." Like, I just had a woman do a session just last week, and I always follow up with them. Were there any changes? Because 'Cause I'm curious. I wanna know, "Did you have a dream? What happened?" And
Mhm.
she was like, "Oh my god," because she had a lot of stuff to dealing with her ex-husband and, like, trauma and pain and the feeling of abandonment. So we released all of those, and she's like, "I have never felt so light in my life. Like, I feel so alive, and I feel like I could conquer the world." She's like, "I feel so good." "I'm gonna write you a testimonial as soon as I get to my computer." And I'm like,
Aw.
"Okay, thank you." But yeah, it has been such an incredible healing modality. I do it on myself, I do it on my husband, I do it on my stepson. I'm constantly, like, just releasing these negative emotions that no longer serve us. So, like I said earlier in the podcast, when the dog is, like, shaking themselves off and regulating their nervous system, if we don't learn how to self-regulate our nervous system, we are storing these negative emotions in our body. And then what happens, we become so heavy with these negative emotions that we use all the wrong coping mechanisms to try to self-regulate, and then we just become a wounded soul, and what do wounded souls do? We wound others. We hurt others, because we don't know how to deal with all of this
Yeah.
baggage,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, earlier when you were saying, like, it's so important for us to learn how to self-regulate, now I know how important that is. So, like, when I see my little nieces, I don't have young kids of my own, but when I see my little nieces and, like, for example, my niece, she slammed her finger and it hurt so bad and she's screaming, because that's like your first initial reaction is to just scream out the
Mhm.
pain, right? And I was like, "It's okay, just take a breath, like, breathe in, breathe out." And she's only like 6 or 7, but it was so cute because she's sitting there breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, and then the pain subsided, right? She no longer
Yep.
was in
Yep.
but if we don't teach them how to self-regulate, then she's going to pick up all these other things, right?
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing too that I've done with my son, because I think when we learn how to do things differently, and we're always growing. But, when he's upset, it's very easy for parents to be like, "Oh, you're fine," or "You're this way and this way." And sometimes it's okay for them to be sad now. They're like
Mhm.
little dysregulated humans sometimes because they're
Yeah.
hungry or they don't know what's going on in their bodies. There's a lot
Yes.
too. But I think as parents, it's sometimes we don't have the answers. And even with your nieces, like it's okay if we don't have all the answers. Like I can't beat all the people up at school that are mean to my son.
Yeah.
But have
Exactly.
this space to be sad, to breathe, and to process it without having an answer. So I think as parents, we're like, I gotta fix this. This is not, they're having emotions. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, because you have emotions. So I don't want to repress my son's emotions. Obviously sometimes his emotions are just because he's again, like he didn't
Yeah.
have enough food or but at the same time, it's like, okay, what do they need? Okay, do they need to feed them? Do they need, because as humans, we're the same way, like, or as adults,
Yes.
sorry, not as humans. Uh, we're the same
Yes.
way. Like, you know, it's like meeting your basic needs. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
I eat, I need to sleep, I need all these things. And then how to regulate my nervous system. And before we wrap up, I wanted to, if you have any tips. So I know you talked about breathing. Obviously, there's grounding, which is,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, like you said, check in just like you check in with your kid, "Why are you crying? Are you okay?" Check in with your kid, check in with yourself.
yeah,
Check in with the inner child that didn't get the parenting that they deserved or the love that they deserved and or the space to heal. So check in. Why are you feeling like if you're feeling triggered or if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling fear or just check in with yourself. What do you need right now at this moment? And then kind of visualize. I carry a picture of my inner child. Like she's with me always.
oh my
You
god, I
know,
love that.
I literally have her right here, right in front of me, and I check in with her. What do you need right now? And sometimes my inner child is still like, oh my God, we're going to lose it all, or someone's mad at us, or she's talking shit behind your back, and I always have to tell her, no, we're no longer in that space.
Yeah, you're
You're
safe.
safe. You're
Mhm.
safe now. You're safe. And there's plenty of food and there's plenty of money and you're fine. Look at the car you're driving. Oh, look how amazing our life is. Let's go look at our closet. I literally talk to her as if she is my child.
Yep.
Oh, you're hungry? Let's go get your favorite food. When I was growing up, I didn't have that much money. So like going to McDonald's was a treat, and it was like, oh my gosh, if I had a hamburger, I'd have to share my French fries with my sister. Now I'm 43. I don't have to share my french fries with anybody. I could buy my own french fries. So like I treat myself to things. Sometimes
Yeah,
I have like these little things like this is something my mom would never buy me as a little
yeah,
girl
like
in
a cute, like,
elementary school.
fuzzy pencil or pen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it's like I get to do these things for myself. I get to spoil myself. If I need to go and just sit by the beach, go. No one's stopping you. Like, stop making these excuses or stop living by the old program, the old ideologies that you have to
Yeah,
do, be or have enough money for this. Like, you can you can do whatever you want. You can be, have, and do whatever you want. And it's like people are no, but this. You don't need to know the how. You just need to ask, "This is what I want." You
yes,
just and then just wait for it to become your reality. It's the basis of manifesting. But if you don't heal the core wounds, if you don't heal the subconscious programming, you will
yeah.
manifest. Because I did. I
No, you'll
manifested all the
manifest.
wrong things.
Yeah, like you said, you'll manifest the things that you'll manifest it. Like, I remember, so obviously not to get into it here too much, but so I somewhere along the line, I was kind of made fun I was not kind of, I was made fun of when I was a kid for being overweight. My dad actually had an issue with alcohol. He quit when I was maybe in 1st grade. But I don't remember a lot of my childhood before that because I think my brain was like, "Nope, nope, protecting you." But
Yeah.
somewhere along the way, I learned that I wasn't worthy, right? So I wasn't worthy, and then I was drinking, and then I was like, "Okay, I wanna manifest a different job in the job that I in this same area." Well, it turns out once I stopped drinking and I went on my own healing journey, which it's not over. It doesn't, like, there's no end. Uh,
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I didn't know that I wouldn't take risks because I was terrified of failing, and it all stemmed because I didn't think I was good enough. And I
Yeah.
don't know exactly the day, the time that happened, but without that awareness, I was like, "Holy shit." So now I have to work on the internal because what I wanna manifest is much bigger
Yeah.
than the stuff I was manifesting before because it was easy. It was like, "Oh, yeah, I can get that." So now I've learned since I've got sober and started working on myself is okay, what else do you want? You want big stuff. And then, like you said, sometimes some of us, the people that I've worked with, they wanna do all the things, and sometimes it's like, we can't. We gotta do the next thing and the next thing, and then what you said is what manifesting is, it's like, what do I need? Sometimes you might hear yourself say, "You need a motion code,"
Yeah.
or you need support, or again,
Yeah.
you might need something, you might see an advertisement for something or a podcast that comes into your awareness. Like, there's, like, little things that tell you, "This is where we're sending you," because
Yeah.
if you want the big things and you're like, "Well, I keep thinking I'm gonna be a best-selling author," but then you don't believe it. You don't
Mhm.
fundamentally believe it. It's gonna have, like, this repel, right? You're gonna kinda get it, kinda not get it, kinda get it, kinda not, and you're gonna be, like, spinning your wheels, and it's because potentially you don't believe that you're worthy of having it, or money is hard, or I have to work hard for what I want. So, and not that we don't have to work hard, but, like, I think the notion that we have to hustle, 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 and some of us intuitive folks, we need the flow and the flow and the flow to
Yeah.
hustle a little bit too.
You have to be in the bliss state to get what you want, and some of us can get there without the healing, but again, once you get what you want, you're going to self-sabotage because that negative thing is still running in the background. So
Yes.
like I said earlier, that's why the people who have win the lotto lose all their money. So you can get the house, you can get the car, you can get the boyfriend, the husband, a new job, but if you're still like and once you get that, and like it's like anything. Like I wanted a Range Rover so bad. I finally got it. After about a year, the bliss of having a Range Rover wears off, just like anything that you get. So you wanted a new purse or you want a new outfit, new shoes, whatever it is, after like a month or so, the bliss of having that is gone.
Yeah.
So how do you stay in that same vibrational state to get continue to manifest the things that you want? You have to do the healing work. You have to. You have to work on your shadows. You have to work on your subconscious healing because if you don't, you'll never be fulfilled because the subconscious mind is always telling you, "Well, you're not good enough
Yep.
and you're unworthy." And remember, there's something inherently wrong with you.
Yes.
So if you're constantly feeling unfulfilled, then it's time to do an emotion and body code session. I tell people emotion and body code is like the chiropractor, which is crazy because Dr. Bradley Nelson is a chiropractor and that's how he discovered this healing modality. Whenever like my back is tweaked, I go to the chiropractor and then I feel good and then I feel great because I'm on a blissful state. So if you are having trouble emotionally and you don't understand why for whatever reason you've been feeling a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety or a lot of panic, or if you're feeling like, like Chrissy came to me and she's like, I'm feeling financially stuck. I don't understand. If whatever it is, and then you do one or two, I sell them in one sessions or packs of 3, 6, and 9, just because I love Tesla. So 3, 6, and 9, and you can work on something like, for example, if you want to work on your mother wound or your father wound, or you want to work on why your shoulders hurt, or why is it that, you're having these bad dreams or why you're feeling tired or stagnant? Just do a couple of sessions, get back into the blissful alignment and go on your merry way.
Yeah.
But then if you start feeling unfulfilled again, come back, do a couple more sessions, get adjusted,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then go back on your merry way. So this is what I loved about emotion and body code is that I didn't have to do it all the time. I just only had to do it when I was feeling out of alignment. And so
Yeah.
everybody knows that feeling. So get back into alignment. It'll be so much easier for you to manifest. It'll be so much easier for you to get the dreams that you want and accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. And yeah, if you're hearing this, there's a reason why,
Yeah.
because our spiritual guides are leading you to, hey, there's something in your subconscious mind that needs to be released and you need to heal it so that you can get to the next level.
Yes. I think that's such a beautiful place to end. And I I mean, we could talk for like probably 3 hours about things because
Yeah.
we like a lot of the same things, but healing and changing your life and going after what you really, really want, it's work, right? But it's the
Mhm,
best kind of work. And I can tell you this because when I was drinking and when I was half living, no, I wasn't miserable. I wasn't
mhm,
miserable, but I didn't know anything about myself. It was so easy to forget when you're drinking. It's so easy just to take the fastest route. And I do feel like some people go back to drinking because they can't take the pain that they're suffering
mhm.
with, which a lot of it is that low self-worth. I'm not good enough. And sometimes we can't find the exact, like I said before, the exact day, time it happened,
Yeah.
but we can identify that, okay, this is an emotion. It's a trapped emotion, perhaps. And even after your session, when you release it, like it's even having that awareness, like, holy shit, this was in me and I didn't know it. So I
Mhm.
think, if that resonates with you, I'm going to share Paola's all of her information in the show notes. So please reach out to her if you need anything. And thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. And I give everyone their first 15-minute free emotion code and body code session. So, I mean, doesn't hurt to try, right? Especially if you're getting your first one for free.
No,
So,
I
because
mean,
I
sign me
got my
up.
first one for free, right? I got my first session for free, and so I wanna pay it back to anyone, and I always wanna be people to try the healing modality. I tell people, "Your healing journey is personal and unique to you, so try and do all the things, and trust me, you will get a return on your investment." The best way to spend your money is to spend your money on your healing journey, because you
100%.
will get the best return on your investment.
Yes. Well, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
All right, I'll see you later.
Bye.